Hello, hello, hello. Nate here with the Volunteer Tech Vlog on the Live Sound 101 YouTube channel. Good morning. I got my hazelnut iced coffee ready to go here. It's gonna be a good trip. This video, I would like to talk about my thoughts on the presidential elections. Just kidding. This is Live Sound 101 in the Volunteer Tech Vlog, so I will not be talking politics because nobody wants to hear my thoughts on politics. But they do want to hear about live sound, and they do want to hear about pro audio and thinking through different things. And this morning, I'm going to be thinking through, what am I going to be thinking through? I'm going to be thinking through written procedures for your audio techs and video techs. And I'm going to be kind of thinking about, okay, what are the types of things I want to put into a written procedure that everybody needs to do every week? And then at what point does it just get way too detailed? Because if I try to think step by step how to do everything, I'm going to be writing a little book. And what I'm thinking of is like a one sheet of paper, 1 page PDF for the audio tech. Just a little kind of a checklist thing. Like, okay, make sure you do this. Oh yeah, definitely make sure you do this. You got to do this. You got to do. And kind of like knowing when to zoom in and when to zoom out, or maybe like you reference a work instruction or something like that. See, this is totally my job, my day job paying off, kind of like paying off. What am I trying to say? This is my day job rubbing off on kind of my volunteer experience, where in the medical world, where we have document control and work instructions, everything has to be very specific and you have to follow a very specific set of instructions. There's actually a lot of value to doing that, to getting everybody on the same page for quality management. And that's what we're talking about this morning. How do you manage the quality when you've got all these different people volunteering? How do you kind of get everybody under the same umbrella and on the same page and kind of give them the same things to shoot for? So with that, now that I've set up the video, let's drive. And we will be talking about what to include. So I think the first thing, oh gee, I might need some sunglasses. It is bright out. It is bright out. I think these are my wife's sunglasses. Oh well. I can rock the ladies' sunglasses. Not a problem. Okay. So yeah, I think the biggest challenge with writing like a 1-page piece of paper is that there is so much that you could potentially write down, and you really don't. This is not the time and the place for that. I mean, you want to really have in-depth training outside of this like 1-sheet piece of paper, but it is nice to have like a reference point, especially if you're just starting, so you know, okay, 10 minutes before service, like I got to remember to cue the music. Like if you're up there by yourself and you've never done it before, you're just not in the habit of like, oh yeah, let me cue the background music. Like you don't know what the SOP is, the standard operating procedure. And I guess that's really, maybe that's a better way to frame what I'm talking about here, is having a standard operating procedure. And this is kind of unique to the church tech world, a little bit unique to to volunteer-based teams, because guys like Kern from Home Recording Weekly, he does like live sound gigs and stuff, but I don't know if this would be something that he would value as much, because he's kind of like a one-man show. I mean, he works with other bands, but once he knows how to do his thing, he's not necessarily looking to transfer that knowledge to a team of 3 or 4 other people that maybe don't know what he knows. So I'm kind of thinking about it in the terms of church tech and growing a team of volunteers. And I think the standard operating procedure, one for the video tech, one for the audio tech, and then if you've got a producer or some sort of broadcast tech who's managing live stream or managing a record device of some sort, I think like for our group, and I like to talk real world situations, so I do talk about my group a lot, because I think that's a good way to kind of work through things and see kind of what works. But I think that having a standard operating procedure for those three people is really the way to go. So what would we put on the standard operating procedure? So I'm thinking I'll start with the audio tech, because that's what I'm most familiar with. That'll probably come most natural. And I imagine if Josh watches this video, he's thinking about these same things too. He'll have ideas, and we can kind of kick them back and forth. So I'm just spitballing here. I'm just brainstorming. So I think maybe like step one would be midweek rehearsal. So you want to definitely, if you're on sound for Sunday and it is Monday morning, I feel like there needs to be some sort of communication about a midweek rehearsal and some sort of coordination. So maybe that's actually step one, is coordinate with worship leader about midweek rehearsal, because if it doesn't get on your schedule, it's not going to happen regardless. So coordinate with whoever about when they can show up, usually Wednesday or Thursday night. And Wednesday or Thursday night, show up and make all the patches. So like step two, I think step one would be coordinate a midweek rehearsal, because everything goes so much smoother when you've got all the legwork done on like Wednesday night or Thursday night, and you just come in Sunday morning and fire everything up, and you're good to go. So I'd say coordinate would be step one. Step two for the audio standard operating procedure might be to do, what do? You schedule this rehearsal. What needs to happen in this rehearsal for a successful Sunday? And I think something as basic as, XLR patches, channel strip assignments, so labeling each channel, what the source is going to be, and setting up a rough mix. So, and not just one rough mix, because like we've got 5 mixes that we potentially do, and we've got one person to do 5 mixes. So it is challenging in that regard, because you're thinking of the monitor mix for the musicians up on stage. You're thinking about the front of house mix, the main mix in the sanctuary. You're thinking about the fellowship hall mix, the record mix, and in-ear monitor mix, which feeds the nursery. So setting rough levels for all 5 of those mixes would be the next thing to do during the midweek rehearsal. And then just let the band do their thing. They got to work through transitions. They got to work through arrangements. They got to work through all that musical stuff, timing, and who's gonna start one song and finish the other song. So I think that is like the first chunk, is the coordinate the midweek, show up to the midweek, and do XYZ at the midweek rehearsal. And if you've got like physical media like CDs, that is a great time to start labeling some of this stuff and making sure your media is labeled and ready to go, because that can be a huge stress reliever if you come in and you've got to record like CDs and stuff. Oh, sorry about the sun. It's like super bright right there. I don't think I can do anything to fix that. No, probably not. I'm gonna put this down. Will that help? No, not really. Got a bright sun. Actually, we had a super moon last night. It was very cool. I went out with my daughter Joni, and we set up the camera and the tripod, and we took pictures of the super moon. So that was cool to see that come rising up over the tree line. And the place we were camped out was in Walpole, right off of Route 1, and we were the first ones there. We had little camp chairs set up and snacks and everything. We were just sitting in our little chairs waiting for the moon to come up, and because we knew it was going to come up at 4:13 p.m. at like roughly 75 degrees northeast. So I had my little compass app. We were set up in the right direction, and we were ready to roll, and it was really cool. But yeah, a little crowd gathered, made some friends. Met this guy Kevin, who used to work on TV broadcast towers. Like, this guy used to climb up to the top of these towers and adjust the transmission devices up there. I don't even know what you call this, but in Needham, Massachusetts, they got these really tall TV towers, and he'd be one of the guys that would climb up to the top of them. And he's just like, talking about how he wished when he was doing this back in the 90s. He's like, he wished he had the GoPro cameras back then, because that would have been pretty cool. But anyway, back to standard operating procedures for audio. So yeah, I think coordinating the midweek rehearsal, and maybe that's not the role of the audio person, but they don't need to like rally the troops and set the date or whatever, but they just need to somehow talk to whoever's setting up practice and the musicians and the worship leader and get on the same page so that they can be there to do a few things ahead of time, like make your XLR patches, label your channel strips, label any media, just get as much of the like kind of more administrative kind of busy work, if you will, done ahead of time. That can be a really good thing. And then setting up the 5 rough mixes. That's going to go a long way. And ideally, you can recall a previous mix that you did, and most of the work is already done. So it's just a matter of recalling an old mix file, but just knowing which one to recall and then copy and modify. So the next thing on the standard operating procedure, actually, I think this might be a good thing to add, is go into Spotify, because we've got a Spotify Pro account, and that might be a good thing to do during rehearsal. After the band is up there kind of working through things, get into Spotify and make a few playlists for yourself. What do you want me to stop? It was so weird. The cop was waving me on as the construction worker was trying to cross. And it was so bizarre, because this guy's walking in front of my car, cop's waving, going like this to me, and I'm like, I'm not gonna hit the dude. But I guess the cop wanted me to drive through first and him to go after. It was just, sometimes I get confused with the hand signals of police cars, police officers. But I just stopped. As I want to err on the side of caution. Do not want to hit a construction worker. Anyway, this is the fun part about recording in the car. I don't know. Somebody's doing this to you, and then somebody's walking in front of your car. Are you gonna like trust the little hand signal doing this, or are you gonna see the guy that's like about to walk in front of your car and hit the brakes? I hit the brakes. Bizarre. All right, now this video is completely off track. This is why you don't record videos in your car. Oh, I was talking about Spotify, and it's a good thing to be familiar with the music you're gonna play, and so I really just started taking advantage of our Spotify Pro account, realizing we've got access to all these songs. So I had a bunch of songs saved in my Amazon Music account, and I basically just opened up my Amazon Music account and looked up every song in the playlist that I had made previously, and I'm gonna keep adding to that. And basically I've got kind of 2 playlists I'm working on, kind of like a peppy, more upbeat playlist, and a slower playlist, because when you play, so the audio tech has the ability to control what music is played during the first, prelude and postlude, as we call it. So the background music while people are filing into their seats, and then the background music as people are leaving during the conclusion and dismissal. So not during the conclusion, during the dismissal. That'd be weird if people were like, all right, conclusion, let's go. So one of the things that comes up is like, how familiar is the audio tech with the music they're playing, and has it been thought through? Is it just, do we play the same? Like, there's been stretches of months where the same CD was left in the CD player, and the same exact CD just got played every single Sunday. Which maybe that's fine, maybe it doesn't matter. Like, most people don't even notice the background music. all that much. But like if there's nothing playing in the background, you kind of notice that even more. So one of the things you got to do is be familiar with what you're going to play, because the last thing you want to do is like, oh, let me play something I'm not familiar with, and it really just doesn't fit, or it's the wrong, it's kind of like a funny song choice. Like, for example, you want to play what's appropriate for the situation. So like, you have a little bit more freedom for the intro, right? For the prelude, because that's kind of building up to something. But like during the postlude, for example, if you just did communion, right? It's a very somber, kind of like reverent, thing that just took place. And then if you come out and play some sort of like, up tempo, high energy mix, there's going to be like a little bit of a clash there. So you want to pick a song that's appropriate for the setting and appropriate for what's going on. And you just got to be familiar with that. So I think that might be a good part of the standard operating procedure. And you only have to maybe do this once. Like if you've never used Spotify and you're on our team, you should definitely put that on the to-do list to get a playlist of songs. And you can use other people's playlists too, but the problem with that is now you don't really know exactly what you're playing, and it's good to know exactly what you're going to be playing, be familiar with the music that you play. So that's my thought about that. What else can we do for standard operating procedure? So get the music, gotta have the music ready to go. And then I think it probably comes down to Sunday morning. You want to show up early. You want to make sure you're testing out the system, get it all ready for the musicians, recall the mix that you created on the midweek rehearsal. And I think at this point you really want to focus on fine-tuning those 5 rough mixes that you set. This is kind of where you're going to want to make sure you've got your EQ and your compression and any effects or anything like really dialed in properly. You're going to want to go around and listen to each space and monitor and make sure you're getting good levels, and make sure you're getting good levels to your recorder. Somewhere around -14, -12 is what I recommend on average. So you're not clipping, you got a little bit of headroom, but you're getting good solid signal to your recorder. And making sure your batteries are charged, get your wireless set up. What else for a standard operating procedure for audio? What else do you need to do? You got to know, kind of when to hit record and what you're going to record. I think this day and age, we're recording to a solid state drive. There's no reason not to record everything, because it's not like we're limited by cassette tapes or CDs or anything like that. We're just recording right to disc. So I think recording the whole service. I mean, there was a thinking, years back that, the first service we would record, the service sermon only. And then like the next service we record the whole thing, or vice versa. So we had this whole thing where, one recording was the entire service, one recording was just a portion of the sermon. And I think we don't really need to do that anymore, other than that's just the way we've always done it. So I never want to just do something because we've always done it, especially if there's no reason to do it anymore. So I think things like that in the standard operating procedure make sense, like when to hit record, when to hit stop, what to label the file, if labeling it, if you need to label it at all, because it labels it now with the date the file was recorded, so it kind of automatically labels it, so it simplifies the workflow a little bit. Trying to think what else we could do. Standard operating procedure. I think those are the basics. But yeah, if Josh is watching this or anybody else got any ideas, love to hear your standard operating procedures for audio. I think, maybe proper like shutdown procedure. I mean, we don't have the shutdown procedure in this. We just want to have when to turn the system on, when to shut it down. We want to have things like that, like where to put things away, what to pack up on stage, what to leave out on stage for next week, things like that. More operational types of things, less on the like technical how-tos. But I think the standard operating procedure can reference other instructions, right? So you've got this like one kind of checklist that you work through every single Sunday. It's like laminated and taped down to the table or posted on the wall, and everybody sees that. And then that document, maybe step 5 that says, okay, now turn on the system. Maybe that references an external instruction that goes into great detail about how to turn the system on. So something like that. But this all takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So, but it would be nice. I mean, that would be the best way. I think that would be a really good way to get everybody on the same page, especially because then now you're not guessing, and now there's like a standard and everybody can reference that standard. So, all right. Thanks for watching this video. Those are my thoughts on standard operating procedures for the audio tech. And of course, this whole process that I just went through needs to be refined and kind of sharpened, and then also applied to the video tech, the person doing the words and the on-screen images, and the person that would potentially be doing filling the producer's seat one day, or the recording seat, or the broadcast tech, so to speak. So that's all I got for now. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.